You might have seen running around the internet the idea that Nintendo's next console will not release until at least April 2025 or beyond. That quarter one of 2025 is off the table because of what Nintendo recently announced. That they said, hey, we've got our forecast, it does not include Switch 2, and therefore no console till at least April of next year. And at that point, do they just wait till the holiday season? Now, while this is running rampant, while I've seen lots of content and articles being written about no new Switch till at least April, I mean, it's wrong, but it's not factually wrong. It's just being interpreted wrong. So I'm going to correct it and give you the goods and give you others who agree with me so that we can all be on the same page. What's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce here to bring you good news. I still very much think the Switch 2 is dropping in March of next year. I think Nintendo is going to keep the exact same cadence, the exact same plan as the Switch 1. It worked marvelously well. It allowed them to have a perfect amount of preamble to promote this system, to market this system, to get the word out, showcase the system, and then have epic launch games in March, which is a great time to sell games, and then have a whole holiday season to once again sell a boatload of games, but to already have an established console market and to hope that you can get more units on store shelves. This all began because Furukawa answered questions about Nintendo Switch's forecast. So Furukawa announced that Nintendo is forecasting 13.5 million Switch units sold in the fiscal year. Now, I talked about how that's a pretty solid figure. It's not crazy. It's not like earth-shattering. It's not a world beater. It's not better than what they've done before, but it is good enough to say, hey, this is going to be a decent year for software. Like, Switch must have something big coming to even hit that many consoles sold. But where people started to get a bit worried and concerned and where all of this verbiage started to go rampant is that Furukawa specifically stated that the sales forecast for this period, April 2024 to March 2025, does not include sales of the recently mentioned Switch successor. Furukawa is specifically saying that only Switch 1 is being forecasted right now. That's it. 13.5 million units does not include anything else except the current Switch. And he was careful to clarify because, well, two things. One, you'd expect there to be more Switches sold if there is a new console releasing. And two, as he stated, they will talk about the next console within the next fiscal year. So therefore, it's not time to include it in a forecast. Now, whereas many are reading this misinclusion, this lack of inclusion as, oh my gosh, there is not going to be a Switch 2 to sell, it's much more so about Furukawa balancing expectations and managing the PR spin of all things. Nintendo is not ready to go into full details on the Switch 2. They're not ready to go into full details on what they think the Switch 2 will sell. Heck, the system doesn't even have a name. They got no games announced. They got no plan. So let's wait until we get more information before we update our sales forecast. Nintendo actually has many times revised their sales forecast. They can go up, they can go down, but obviously in the case of including a new system, they would go up, up, up. Furukawa specifically stated that they will be revealing information about the next Switch console in phases. And I think that's all you need to hear to know that obviously right now, at the investors call where they first breached the mention of a new console, they're not going to include it in the forecast. And Furukawa says they're not including it in the forecast, but him saying that doesn't mean that it's not happening. It just means right now, Nintendo, they just barely talked about it. Give them some time. Give them the summer to show off their June Direct, their new Switch 1 games. Give them probably even September to show off their third-party titles if there is the expected partner showcase. Let them drop some indies, let them release a new amiibo, a Joy-Con colorway, something like that, and then let's revise this forecast. A lot of people are asserting that, hey, because it's not included in the forecast, that means no Switch 2 until at least April. I don't buy it. Now, there is a chance that the Switch 2 comes out in April or May, but A, I don't believe that to be the case, and B, it would not be because of this. Nintendo is very close to the chest, they are very protective, and they're very cautious with what they announce. Look how long it's taken them to announce a July game. We just got Nintendo World Championships announced, and it's dropping in July. They won't even announce any other games beyond that for their investors because they're waiting in due time. They've got a plan. They have a calendar. They do things at their own pace. Furukawa is not ready to include the Switch successor sales in the fiscal forecast because it's just not time. It's not because the system is really teetering on the edge of missing that Q1 launch. Most people still peg it as a Q1 launch. And let's get Necro Philippe's take, okay? So it's not just me talking here. No, Nintendo not including the Switch 2 in its hardware sales projections until the end of this fiscal year does not mean it intends to launch the successor from April onwards. Calm down, journalism. Calm down. And that's absolutely the truth of it. Calm down, journalism. The story to pick up on here is probably the leaked specs that came from shipping manifestos, or let's talk about that June Direct. Talk about what games might be coming to the Switch 1 this year, here and now, rather than worrying that the forecast doesn't forecast the Switch 2, and so you can't forecast the Switch 2. The Switch 2 is coming. The Switch 2 has been confirmed. It doesn't have a name yet, but let's just call it Switch 2. And Nintendo will revise their sales forecast when they see fit. Maybe they need to wait for certain things to happen. Of course, there's all sorts of announcements planned. They do have a phased release for information on the Switch 2, as Furukawa stated, so I do not believe that in any way this indicates a later launch. I think March is the perfect time frame for it, and remember this, March allows them to sneak it in at the end of the fiscal year. That is a huge boost to profits, a huge bump to investor confidence, and it's going to make the shareholders do the wave at the call in May. The call we just had, next year in May, if they drop that system and can say, hey, we concluded our fiscal year with a massive bang, that's going to get everybody hyped for the next fiscal year, and their forecast for that fiscal year then can skyrocket, and they can say, look, we are continuing this, we are on the upswing, we are booming, our stock price is raising, and here we go. Hallelujah, new console, tons of new games. The holiday season will only make it better. When we're able to stock for demand, it'll only make it better. They want to get this thing out in the fiscal year. Otherwise, it's going to be a very dry fiscal year. I know that 13.5 million is nothing to scoff at. That's a solid amount of consoles, but we know that there's not going to be a new Zelda, a new Mario. There's not going to be something massive to sell 30 million copies or to push 20 million consoles. They want to have a boost. They want to keep things going consistently and always forward facing. They want to keep this momentum building, and being able to launch a console at the tail end of your fiscal year to just rocket profits will be huge. And I absolutely believe it's what Nintendo sets out to do. I think we're going to follow the same plan. You're going to see Nintendo have their June Direct. They're going to have some cool holiday games. October, November will roll around. Those games will drop. They'll be fun. And then as soon as they're done, Nintendo can begin the minecart towards the mania of Switch 2. Probably a late year reveal, a trailer, a mood trailer, a vibe trailer, right? Like they had for Switch 1 with everybody on the rooftops playing at the basketball court in the Splatoon Championships. And then in January, they do a big game reveal. Now the games that we saw teased in the reveal trailer can be fully fleshed out. Maybe there's another surprise or two. Maybe more third parties are on board. Maybe they can show someone playing Monster Hunter Wilds on the Switch 2 in person. Maybe they can show the difference between Metroid Prime 4 on Switch 1 and on Switch 2. And then we gear up for a nice March launch with supported software in April and May. And then we have a big holiday gauntlet coming again from Nintendo with whatever didn't make the Switch launch. That plan is maybe not foolproof, but it's proven, and that's very important to game industry executives and to game industry head honchos and to people that want to make sure they make money. And Nintendo is going to make money off of this. They're just not ready to talk about how much yet. So fear not, April 2025 is not a real thing. It's a mirage because of assuming something based on what Furukawa said, but assuming incorrectly. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. I still feel great about a March launch. I think you should too. Until next time though, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Love you lots. SwitchForce out.